Well, the founder sitting across from me today has, I would say, one of the most recognizable brands I've ever seen locally. And if you're from this area, you'll know that. But if you're not from this area, you're going to learn some things today. They've got 4.9 stars across 2,500 plus reviews. That's impressive. 3-time Angie's List Super Service Award winner. Started the business out of his house, and it's now a business with 80 employees and one of the top brands in the area. And they're a business that seems to be able to largely run without the founder being in the day-to-day weeds. But I guess we'll find out if that's true in a second. So Brian McNally, founder of McNally's Heating and Cooling, welcome to the Founder Talk podcast. How you feeling?
Good. Thank you for having me.
Pleasure to have you here. I'm excited to get into this conversation. So we are going to spend time on building a business that runs without you, how you guys have done such a great job building a brand locally, online, in just about every possible way that you can imagine. You guys have done it. Right before we went on air, you were talking about Facebook and how you got into it early before most companies or competitors did, and how you just took advantage of that. I see that. I don't think a lot of people see that. I think they just see the branding everywhere. They recognize it. They're familiar. It's there. But they don't see the behind the scenes on how all that takes place. And so this will be a great conversation. But let me take you back. I want to take the audience back to when you first started the business out of your house. What was that first couple of years like? Why did you want to start the business?
Well, so it's an interesting story, and I'm not going to tell this super long tale, but ultimately I was working for somebody, and I started posting ads on Craigslist like, hey, I'll come put your furnace in for $500 kind of thing, right? And I was getting a good amount of work that way. I was working Saturday, Sunday.
Were you doing that for a full-time job for another company, or was this...
I was working doing heating and air conditioning full-time for another company.
Okay.
And that company was busy. So it's like I'd work till 6 o'clock with them. I might hit a service call on my way home. I'd wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning, hit a service call on the way into work. Saturday, Sunday, I'm putting furnaces in. But there was two like pivotal moments that kind of like led to me starting the company. One was I traded a used air conditioner installed to get a work van. And the guys, I was like, oh, what's going on with the van in the driveway? The guy had already agreed to pay me. He goes, I'll tell you what, if that air conditioning works, by the time you leave, you can have the van. So got the van. And then, so I'm posting these ads on Craigslist, and ultimately I end up running into a customer that basically I tell him I'm thinking about quitting my job. He knows that I'm freelancing. I'm doing this on the side, whatever. So he actually wrote a check out to McNally's Heating and Cooling before I had ever formed a company. And he was encouraging me the whole day. He's like, you guys are great at doing this. Like I've never seen somebody work like this.
Yeah.
And he's like, so he hands me the check, and I'm like, what am I going to do with that? And he's like, you're going to go start a company, and you aren't going to be able to cash the check until you own McNally's Heating and Cooling. So it was like out of necessity. I'm like, well, I have a check for $200. I have no way to cash it. And so I guess whatever, this is it. And so it was like at that point that I made a decision that I was going to quit my job and everything, like right there having lunch at the guy's, dining room set, while I was doing the installation. So pretty cool.
So you put in your 2 weeks notice, you quit the full-time job, you're going all in on this. Was it pretty much take off from there first couple of years? Did you run into some challenges and some setbacks and kind of questioning whether it was the right move?
I really didn't, because I kind of grew up in this area. Once, I guess what was going through my mind is like, if I could broadcast from the top of a mountain, like if people knew how good I did HVAC, is what was in my head at that time. I just have to find a way to be able to let them know that I do this and I do it at a reasonable price. And why would somebody not want to do business with me? I mean, that's what was going through my head.
Now, what makes you so much better at what you do? Why do you believe that?
We just don't take a lot of shortcuts that you see some of the other guys take. I've been doing this since I was like 13 years old. I'm fully in the know of what the wrong way of doing things is, coupled with what the right way is. And, really like along the way, people have always asked like, oh, how did you, what's the key to becoming successful in this? And I'm like, really, it's nothing other than the stuff that your dad taught you. Show up on time, do what you said you're going to do, hold up your end of the bargain. it's really just that simple.
Mhm.
And it's just amazing how many people miss on such simple, logical marks like that, you know?
That's so
So
true.
I guess to answer your question, I don't have to be that great. Look, see, some of the competition makes it easy for me to look like a shining star when really I'm just showing up on time and doing what I said I was going to,
Right.
you know?
Well, I think too, I always, for me personally, I like working with local companies if you can.
Yeah.
Because it seems like as much as they franchised all these different models and it's like a bunch of different people coming in from all over the country. And it's like, I mean, it's local people, but it's like a company that are nationally based and they're just hiring like people that they don't really talk to or know that much. And so it just feels like whether it's movers or whether it's HVAC or whether, I don't know HVAC super well, but a lot of these companies, I don't know, I just don't trust the national brands. Like they don't feel like they're not invested enough in the local community to where if like something went wrong, that I don't think they would really care that much. It's another number where I feel like if something went wrong or you guys did do a great job, you guys would really take that to heart.
Oh,
like you
for
would
sure.
care. You might even know about it if it got to a certain point. Like to me, that stuff matters.
Yeah. And I mean, I think that's like what creates the DNA or, you know, culture of a company is like getting to know the people that work for you, understanding their point of view, you know, and just when they feel that, then they all of a sudden, the workers start to become an advocate for the company. They have a sense of pride, just like you have a sense of pride, right? And when you genuinely care, people recognize that, I think.
Now, did you set out to build a company with, 80 employees at some point, or was it a certain point, a year, 2, 3 years in, where you're like, you know what, maybe I should expand that? And what was that process like?
No, I really didn't. When I had quit my job and decided to do this, I was thinking, you know, I had young kids at home, and that if I didn't take the risk then, I would never take it because I just would have been saddled with bills and kids.
That's how I was. Same position.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, well, the worst case is I can always go get a job, right?
Yeah.
You know, I mean,
Yeah,
if
and you're
all
always going
else-
to be in demand, right?
yeah, like, hey, if this doesn't work out, I'll just go get a job. But,
Yeah.
you know, at the point that I had quit, I was kind of in a position where it was like, well, if I go into work tomorrow, I'm going to start losing money because I'm making a lot more by staying out of work, you know? So all of those things combined, you know, made it a really easy decision.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But you didn't probably think it was going to get to 80 people, right? That's probably a little...
No, I was thinking, hey, if I could work a little bit less, spend more time with my kids, make a little bit more money, that sounds pretty ideal to me.
Mm-hmm.
It just didn't go that way. Like I ended up having some free time early on, but like really it felt like once I quit my job, I like never had a day off after that. It was just, you know, continually going. And I think a lot of that too was just that I grew up in the area, started doing people's grandma's house, their parents' house, their cousin's house, and you know, just kind of grew organically that way, coupled with early on, I mean, I really just allocated a lot of my profit to advertising,
Yeah.
you know, and keeping, you know, jobs coming in.
Do you still feel that way today, though? That you can't, it's hard for you to take time off away from the business that's still, grabbing you most of the time?
No, I mean, not really at this point. I mean, I am involved, but it's like I guess I would say as involved as I want to be, which is kind of what I set out to do.
Yeah. That's
right.
cool.
Like, you know, I knew when I was building it, and at times, although it seemed very unattainable, that removing myself from the business as fast as possible is what needed to happen in order for the business to be successful, you know? And at times throughout the process, like you end up hanging out too long. Like for me, I know that I can be very disruptive to my business, that people have systems and ways that they do things. And then I come in and I start rocking the boat and trying to change things back to how I would have done it. It's just, you know, so I choose my battles. I move the chess pieces and I try to stay out of the day-to-day operation.
I was going to talk about this kind of towards a later segment, but I think since we're on it, why not talk about it? What have been some of the key things that you've been able to do that allows you to remove yourself from the business? Like what through, going through this process, you've been in business a while, going from a single person operator to 80 people, big team, I guess first and foremost, like before we get into that, where do you spend your time? Like if I were to audit your 40, 60, whatever an hour a week work week, where do you spend your time as a CEO that you found makes the biggest impact at this point in your business?
Well, I mean, I think that question is hard to answer because it's ever evolving. Obviously, we had COVID, there was price increases, things of that nature. So, and with tariffs and all these things happening, like, currently a lot of my time is allocated to trying to stop the price increases where we can, or figuring out new strategies so that we can keep things affordable for homeowners. And so there's that part of it. I would say a lot of my time too is spent on marketing strategy. Now we have somebody that does that,
Sure.
full time, but I'm still pretty involved in decision making, what ads go where, when they get placed, what's the spend, that kind of stuff. So I mean, and those are the things that I kind of enjoy doing too. So it's not a very easy question to answer, but it could be locating vans. For a while there was really difficult. So just, as the organization kept growing, how are we sourcing vans when that chip shortage happened? Manufacturers weren't manufacturing vans because they weren't super in demand. It was all going to luxury SUVs or whatever. So I don't know. Hope I answered the question.
Well, I'm always interested, and I always kind of think to the future, and I'm sure the founders, entrepreneurs listening they do as well, where it's like, hey, if your business could run without you to a certain degree, where would you spend your time? And to me, it's like, yeah, probably there's some people development, there's some vision stuff, of course. Hey, where's the company going? What are the big problems in front of us? How do we handle them? Like you mentioned. But then it's also like, for me, I don't know, it goes back to like creating demand for the business, like being the face of the business, doing this type of stuff, being involved in marketing. Like, to me, it's like, that's kind of the fun part, I feel like. And if you don't have to run the day-to-day stuff, and you can be the person out there kind of bringing more people in, to me, that's my goal. That's where I want to get to in a point in my business where and I call it kind of the supply and demand. The supply section is taken care of. You're out there then creating demand as the founder or the CEO, amongst other things, of course.
Yeah. I mean, new business opportunities, and sometimes obviously, skilled workers are hard to come by too. Just sometimes getting out there and being in the community, you just come up on opportunities that some people wouldn't. Like, hey, my son's looking for a job in HVAC and all that stuff, and just being present and approachable. I don't know, just see where the day takes you sometimes.
That's right. Exactly. Just being out there, I think, creates opportunities in itself.
Yeah.
What have been the biggest challenges as a CEO, a founder, removing yourself from the business over the last, decade or so? What are the things that stuck out that were really hard for you that maybe someone listening now could learn from?
I would say what held me back the most and was the biggest struggle for me was letting go of some things. I think every entrepreneur to a certain degree is a control freak.
Yeah.
They want to feel like they have their finger over everything. And, I was scared to bring people in, especially like higher level people that I thought were smarter than me, and making those maneuvers to hire people smarter than me was some of the best maneuvers that I made. Because one day I'm like sitting there laying in bed and I'm like, why are you so scared to hire people at this level? Like, and then I'm like, because you think that somebody's going to come in and tell you you've been doing it wrong. And I'm like, but you've been doing it wrong. Why don't you just let somebody come in and fix it? And that was like an epiphany and a very pivotal moment, I think, for my business. Like, and I don't think I'm any different than any other business owner. Everybody at some point will either have that awakening or they'll never grow their business,
Do you talk to yourself a lot like that?
Yeah, maybe like just before bed, just, you, especially when you got a high level day and you get all this information, and then you're laying down and you start unpacking all these conversations, and, you start trying to make sense of what, at the end of the day, I'm a problem solver. How do I solve these problems or whatever? But, yeah, I mean, I would say I spend a fair amount of time, recollecting, I guess, and even just to, checking myself too, just, I would think, being honest with yourself is one of the hardest things to do, but, in order to continue to have success and stuff, you have to admit that you are not good at everything. You just can't be, right? And so you have to identify what your strengths are and really focus on that and hire for your weaknesses, and
yeah. I hope you guys just heard that, because that was like a nugget of wisdom, what you just said there. And going back to what you were talking about, laying in bed and thinking about this. Because one, to me, I think there's research on this that shows that like smart people do talk to themselves and work things out. I think you have to.
Yeah.
Because one, it shows me self-awareness. So you're aware of like, hey, there is a problem. I want to grow. We're stuck on something. I'm looking at my surroundings. I'm looking at how I show up every single day. I've recognized certain things. But the second part was almost more important, where you said, I realize that I'm not going to get there unless I make this change. Like I realized that, hey, I don't want smart people to come in because I'm worried they're going to tell me I'm doing it wrong, but I'm doing it wrong.
I know I'm
in certain areas, right? You knew that. And I think it makes me think, damn, after this conversation, you got to look in the mirror and say, where are we stuck right now? And how can do I understand where we're stuck and what the problem is and what's preventing us to getting us to the next level? But then number two, do I have the balls to address it and go, yeah,
am I part of the problem?
Yeah. And you definitely are. Otherwise there's no solution. You can't fix it if you're not part of the problem.
Right.
You definitely are. But it's like, there's ego that comes into play. I'm the business owner. I know what I'm doing. What's someone else going to, there's all these different things that your confidence, there's a bunch of different things that come into play. But being able to recognize that and really do something, to be honest with yourself, I think that, gosh, take something from that, because I know I did.
Yeah. And I mean, I think ego obviously does play a big role in it too. Like, and that is something that'll hold you back too. Especially in the HVAC world, like when any business owner reaches 5 million, they think they're like at the pinnacle, and it's like, you haven't even started, but at that time, when you look at most other HVAC businesses, you're running, 15, 20 people. You're like, oh, this is a really sizable operation. Well, you're hanging out with the wrong people at that point. You need to get in the room with the guy that's running a $140 million business. I constantly want to feel like I'm the brokest dude in the room with the least amount of knowledge.
That's right. What makes you want to continue to grow the business? Like, what really drives you? Because it's like, there's all these like milestones of like, I'm going to get to 5, then 10, then 20, then 50, then 100, then this. And sometimes I wonder if like, are those our milestones? Is it just what we think we should do? Is it like, what's really going on? Should we be growing it more? Should we how do you think about that?
To be honest with you, I don't I had a number in mind, and I'm extremely close to it of, man, if I hit this is like, I've made it to like farther than 99% of any other heating company owner has ever made it, right?
Can you share that number publicly?
The number is 25 million.
Okay.
And I'm very close.
Wow, that's incredible.
And so like, but once I get beyond that, like as of now, it's not like I'm like really striving and pushing due to a number thing. It's like I'm hiring and doing things based on what I'm seeing and the needs of the business and the needs of the customer. And those things just happen to lead to growth. You know what I mean? I'm just plugging things in that have to be there. And, the outcome of it is the company grows, and that's it. You know?
Kind of like when you put service, one of our core values in our business is exceptional service. And even at a local level, but just exceptional service is the key to growth. When you really take care of people, your clients, your community, the people that you can impact, the growth just kind of starts to come.
Yeah.
It just really does if you do it right. So 25 million. So is there a reason that there's that number though?
I don't know how I landed on that number. It was just like something I think that was stuck in my head early on. And I thought it was so unattainable that I'd be chasing it for the rest of my life. So now
here you are.
I'm close.
Yeah.
And once I hit that number, what happens then? I don't know. Do you reset your target and say, okay, my next milestone's 50? For me, I've always set like super unattainable goals where everybody is like, you're absolutely insane. And then in my sick mind, I would, enjoy the fact of getting there early and saying, well, I told you, and I got there a year before I told you I was going to,
You think that is the key to setting goals too, is just shooting pretty high? Because I feel like some people set goals where like they're very safe, or it's like, yeah, we definitely could do that. Do you think it's important to shoot higher, or do you think it depends on the person?
I mean, I guess it depends on the person. I mean, some people can't, like I don't like the idea of losing. And for me, not hitting my goal, I lost.
Me too, yeah.
So if I don't hit that goal, what happens to my psyche from that point? It's not rocked. I go back, I self-reflect, and I'm like, okay, you didn't hit it. Why? What could have changed? What didn't you missed something? What did you miss? And then you just start unpacking that. Like, okay, instead, pull lever A, push button B, hit lever C next time, and then come back with a fresh, perspective and a new start on it and see if you can get that ball rolling again,
Let's say you hit 25 million. Do you think that, when I should say you hit 25 million, because you definitely will, is there a point where you'd start to think about selling the business or passing it down or, really kind of stepping away to a certain degree and letting the legacy continue on without you?
I think for me at this point, it's just too early to really have those talks. Of course, private equity has been a huge thing that stepped into my business.
I was going to say they got to be knocking on doors, if not already in.
I would say at this point, 70% of the entire HVAC market is owned by private equity. There's very few independently owned heating and air companies out there, like especially sizable ones.
Now, is that a good thing or a bad thing for average people that get those services?
I can't speak to the level of service that private equity offers. So I don't really know how their businesses run operationally. At a glance, what I think is that they're buying a business and they're spending all that money up front. They're likely not to be involved in the community. They're likely to not spend as much on advertising. They spent the money to get the customer. They're likely going to cannibalize that customer. And the customers can feel that and they don't like it. So, I mean, in my circumstance, it's been very good that private equity has stepped in because people that were used to that level of service that they were getting with a smaller shop, they're not receptive to what private equity has to offer. So in turn, we just have gotten a lot of fall off of not only customers, but employees. Like I always say, you got to picture your business like a fish tank, right? And so, if private equity is this huge 120-gallon aquarium, right, and they just start dumping all sorts of fish in at once, what's going to happen? Something's going to die, whether the fish is the employee or the customer, something's going to die.
Do you imagine at some point that you will pass down or sell the company and kind of make that transition, or is it just not even really a thought? Because it's so early?
My kids are so young, and I'm pretty young too. I'll be 44 this month.
Oh, so, yeah, dude.
So like for me, it's like they have approached me. They've obviously offered me stupid money. Like sometimes I think like you must be sick in the head.
Yeah,
but it's not. I mean, for me, it's like not all about the money.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, exactly.
So in fact, when I started the company, it was like never about the money. It was about having free time.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I can't answer that question now. I would say minimally, I'd like my kids to get to an age where I can explore all my options and see if this is something they want to do or not. You know?
Yep. Totally get that. By the way, if you're watching this conversation, listening, watching from home right now, and you're enjoying this so far, please hit the subscribe, like, follow button so you don't miss more conversations like this. I want to get into the brand because you guys have done about every marketing and branding that you could possibly do.
Yeah.
I've seen you guys do flyers, you've done radio, you've done social media, you've done in person, you've sponsored almost every event I go to locally. I see you guys. I mean, what really works and what has not in your perspective?
A lot of the stuff that we do is kind of hard to measure, right? Like you can't, it's hard to realize how being at a local event impacts the bottom line and stuff. And so I just found that if we continue to do the unique marketing and do the stuff that we like to do, that it has an adverse effect, that it generates business, right? Like we're just in the community, we're giving your kids Frisbees, we'll sponsor your kids' little league team, and those are the things that we like to do. And obviously we've done higher level advertising, TV, radio, billboard, all that kind of stuff. But I don't think that there's not like a magic bullet when it comes to marketing, right? Yeah. And so a lot of it's just strategy. Where do I want my business to align? Is it in this town? Is it with this organization or whatever? And we just try to spread it out a lot too. Like you see a lot of businesses that'll be like mainline sponsor. Well, we don't do that. Like we'll be a sponsor of a lot of events, maybe at a different level, so that we're getting logo placement, and we kind of like to spread it out a little bit to help every organization if we can.
Are you guys affiliated with McNally's, the restaurant?
We're not.
Okay, I always wondered that. Yeah, yeah. If you're not from around here, it's a local, like kind of Irish pub, I guess you'd call it. So you mentioned before we went live that early on you were doing the Facebook ads.
Yeah.
That those were working really well from you. I'm curious if there's maybe tell a bit about why that works so well early on. Does it work as well now?
Well, obviously now it's a lot more competitive. When
Right.
I was doing it before, like I can't remember what the cost per ad was, but it was like nothing. This is like right when I first started my business, like 2012 into 2013.
Oh yeah.
There was nobody doing ads. And I was like, man, everybody is on their phone all the time. Or I guess that's what was going through my head.
Yeah.
You're making an impression scrolling right across their screen that is undeniable, right?
Mhm.
Like, and so I just kept pumping money into those ads and really focused on building reviews because I felt like I consider myself as the average consumer. It comes back to reflecting, right? Like, how do I buy?
Yeah.
If I'm going to buy a certain way, what do I look at? I look at reviews. I think now Reddit is a thing where people read on there. But I see what other people say about the business, what the brands are, what is the reviews on the brand that they offer, kind of all the things. And so my approach to marketing is I'm the average consumer. How do I buy?
Yeah.
Is it the billboard? Is it this? Is it the compilation of all of these things? Like, what message does my marketing send? Right.
Yeah. Is there anything today that you feel like is close to that kind of arbitrage that you had back in 2013, 2014 with Facebook? Is there anything today that you're like, man, this is really good and it's early and it's still working really well? Or do you feel like most things are saturated?
I feel like a lot of that stuff is saturated now, and I'm not like up on the cutting edge like I was. Obviously you could see there's all the trends of TikTok videos. We're way late to that party.
Yeah.
So no, I don't think that there is like a magic bullet. Obviously, we all know the pay-per-click stuff works, super expensive.
Yeah.
But I think obviously with AI being integrated, a lot of that stuff is going to change. I think they said like 92% of all leads that were booked happened through Google, and it'll be interesting to see how AI transforms that going forward, considering Apple, Yahoo, Bing, are you going to see that number start to shrink and
Definitely.
more, that 8% that Apple or Yahoo is getting, in terms of being a search engine, what does that number grow to? And I think you're going to see things start to get a little bit more evened out.
Definitely. What do you see as one of the, you talk to other founders and entrepreneurs, of course, in the area. What's the one big mistake you see other founders making with their brand or their marketing? Because you guys have done such a great job of it. If you had to give advice to someone else, it's like, I wish we were McNally's. Like, I wish we had the local brand. I wish we were everywhere. I wish we were, it just seems like people know your name. They get a good feeling when they think about McNally's, which to me is like that brand.
Usually all my lessons are learned through pain. I can't speak to other business owners, but the one thing that I recognize is that your marketing sends a message, right? And it's either promoting you or it's pulling you down. And along the way through marketing, we have intermittently sent the wrong message and attracted the wrong customers and stuff. So I think that is, for other business owners and entrepreneurs, that's something that you want to constantly look at is what is the message that I'm sending,
That's a good one. Cause I think a lot of companies just like ads, get a lead. But it's like, there's an overall message and brand that you're presenting and a point of view, a story that you have.
Right.
And some companies don't think about that. So it's just like a conglomerate. It's just like a mix of a bunch of different random ads.
And in my line of stuff, it's like a lot of it is the low price. Well, okay, do I want to be in a coupon book fighting with 10 other contractors for a race to the bottom to who can be the cheapest? Not really.
No.
So do I advertise in those things? I do, but I usually look at what my competition's doing, and I want to be probably in the middle in terms of price, or maybe on the upper end, because I don't want to fight with the bottom feeder costs. I mean, those are the people that complain the most. They're with the least amount of cause.
Yeah,
you
that's
know?
right. Yeah.
So again, just important what message you're sending.
Yeah. So you guys obviously do a lot of hands-on skilled trades, HVAC, heating, cooling, that type of stuff. That 10, 20 years ago, we were talking a little bit about it before the show. I mean, 10, 20 years ago, if they said, hey, I'm going to go, be in the skilled trades, or I'm going to go do HVAC, people looked at you like, well, can you not do college? Was there no other option? It was like, it was the plan C or D. It was like, I literally remember not doing well in high school. I was a troubled child and went to 3 different high schools. That's enough for another podcast. But I remember them telling me like, well, you might just have to do the trades unless you're willing to do the military. And it was like, it wasn't even like there's this awesome opportunity in the trades. It was just like, yeah, you might be stuck with it.
Yeah.
How have you seen that change since you've been in the business?
Well, I mean, it's just, I feel like over probably maybe the past 10 years, it's just gotten groomed to be a little bit more glamorous.
Yeah.
Where before it just, I don't know, I guess it had a stigma around it. Same thing, when I came out of high school, it was like, hey, if all else fails, you end up in the trades, or, and I had explored the military thing. My dad threw the recruiter out of the house.
Really?
So I'm like, well, that's out of the question for me now. And and so I ended up, my brother owned a heating company, so I started working with him early on, and my dad was a builder, so I had been around it.
Okay. Does your brother still own the company?
No, my brother actually works for me. He runs our service department.
Oh,
now.
Nice. Very cool.
He was in a different facet of heating and air conditioning. He was doing new construction, and obviously 2009 happened, and that work kind of dried up. So
what do you think's changed in the last 10 years that's made it more exciting, more attractive, than it was 10, 15, 20 years ago?
Well, I feel like, before it was very like caveman-ish. My trade, it was like, I make it hot, I make it cold. That's it, right? Where now there's so many different elements. There's so many different features. It's like buying a car, right? Like to getting the indoor air quality that you want, getting the desired temperature throughout the house. I think people too have became accustomed to luxury, and these systems that are out today can provide a luxury in your house, that although it may not be visible, you can feel it when you're living there,
Is there any cool tech that we wouldn't know about, like any cool things that are happening with heating and air conditioning, other than I just think like the thermostat, you set the thermostat. Are there some cool things either here today or coming that you see on the more luxury side that people might find interesting?
Yeah. I mean, I think what a lot of people don't understand, even just like in terms of like before, like a standard furnace would come on, you turn the temperature to 80 degrees. And if it was 75 in the house, it would just come on at one throttle, full throttle, and then boom, it hit 80 and it would shut off.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, so while that's going on and you're here in the city of Chicago, you only have this short window of time to humidify your house, right? Whatever that time is going up that 5 degrees. And most of these furnaces were oversized. So it would run for 3 minutes, 4 minutes, hit temperature and shut off. And you would never get the humidification in the house done properly. Where now, most of these controls, like a lot of the systems that we sell, are communicating. So the thermostat is reading off of AccuWeather. It's making predictions based off of AccuWeather. On a call for humidity independently of heat, it'll kick the humidifier on, kick the fan on the furnace so that you can humidify independently of the heat cycle. The heaters, they have a longer run duration. They're, burning less fuel, running for a longer duration, fans moving at a lower speed, which is evening the house out in terms of temperature, giving you the longer window of time to humidify, not independently. And same thing with the air conditioning too, staged cooling. These are all things, I mean, they've been out for a while now, but like most homeowners just don't even know like really exist. And they, it's like, you only know what you know, right?
Yeah.
So like until you've had one of these systems there's a level of comfort that you're missing that you're just not in the know of. You know?
And the systems are getting smaller, I imagine.
Yeah, I mean, the air conditioners have gotten bigger.
Okay.
Just due to the fact that the surface area of the unit needs to be bigger in order to get the efficiency rating out of the air conditioner. But the furnaces certainly have gotten smaller. I mean, at one point, I don't know where they were at, close to 60 inches tall. And then forever they were at 40 inches and now they're at 33. And a lot of that is like to consolidate costs based on shipping, right?
Yeah.
Like if they could shave 7 inches off, they could maybe stack another row or whatever.
Okay.
Yeah.
Out of curiosity, how does air conditioning work? Give me the 5th grade version level, the non-super technical. Yeah, just like how does it, I know it takes in air, it cools it, it ships, and it obviously distributes it throughout the house, but.
So it doesn't actually like cool the air. It removes heat.
Oh, interesting. I didn't even know that.
So yeah, as it comes across the coil, it removes the latent heat and then comes out the other side cooler, right? And then so when you go outside and you hold your hand over the air conditioner and you feel a heat differential between the ambient air, that's the removal of that heat that's happening inside at your indoor A coil. And so that's kind of.
See, I never knew that. I didn't know you could remove heat from. Maybe that sounds stupid to say. I didn't know you could just remove heat from air. I thought you had to either like cool the air or like, you know, because a furnace you can see on some of the units, like there's fire in there. Like they're heating that shit and then pumping it out to the house. I always kind of assumed there was some type of cooling method, which I guess there technically is. It's just removing the heat.
It's removing the heat.
Interesting.
Removing, you know, and a lot of times too, like on these crazy days, you know, we'll come and put a system in somebody's house and they're like, well, the temperature hasn't dropped. It's been 3 hours. Well, the thing that people don't understand, when your air conditioner goes out or like people turn the temperature to 80 degrees in the house thinking, oh, they're going to conserve energy. That's not true, because what happens is once that humidity sets in, it'll go into the wood, it'll go into the carpet. And before the air conditioner can ever start pulling the temperature down in the house, it has to remove the humidity and get it to a level to be able to start dropping in temperature.
Interesting.
So turning your thermostat to 80 or whatever, you know, when it's 90 degrees out.
I would die at 80 degrees.
Yeah.
That's hot.
Yeah.
What is there any other big misconceptions or mistakes that homeowners make with their air conditioning units in the summer? Because it's hot right now. And I'll give you what I do, and I'm curious to get your take. But anything that comes to mind other than what you just mentioned? Well,
I think the biggest thing where we see, you know, air conditioning is a lot more finicky in terms of what it will accept in terms of airflow. So people use these big filters and very restrictive filters. And although it might be okay for the heating cycle during air conditioning, you know, the less restrictive filter you can use, the better.
Really?
Yeah. Because you just need more air moving across the coil. You know, the A coil that sits on top of the furnace, you know, if you're not moving enough air across it, it'll freeze, it'll ice up. You'll have water all over the place. You won't, you know, you'll lose cooling, all that kind of stuff.
So is it you buy a different filter for when it's hot outside for the AC than you would for the furnace when it's cold?
It depends. I mean, you know, really what it comes down to is a lot of these houses were built with inadequate ductwork. I mean, in a perfect world, if you had the adequate ductwork, you should be able to run any filter you want, but that's just not the case, you know? So a lot of times you'll see these systems just get symptomatic from using a 3M filter or, you know, a higher grade filter in the furnace. Now,
what I do personally is I have the thermostat set to like, when we go to bed, it's 68 because I like it cool. It's hard for me to sleep if it's like hot.
Yeah.
It just got to be cool. I run hot anyways. And then during the day, I just kick it up to like 72, 73, 74, somewhere around that range. Is there anything wrong with that?
No, I mean, that if you're in 72, 73, that kind of keeps the humidity in check. It just seems like once you get above 75, the humidity really sets in and it really, now you're really going to be struggling to pull the temperature. You're defeating the purpose. You're trying to conserve energy, but you're wasting more.
Because it's just having to work so hard now to bring it back. That's what I always thought too. So it's almost like, is it better just to keep it at one solid temperature? Like, would it be more efficient for me just to keep it at 68, 69?
I think so.
Really?
You know, because you're just maintaining at that point. You've removed all the moisture. You're just, you're maintaining the temperature.
Okay, interesting.
But yeah, I mean, another thing too that really helps is leaving the fan on and blending the air. So people are always like, my basement's freezing cold.
Yeah, we experienced that too.
Yeah, I got a
and then
bedroom upstairs.
That's
It's
exactly
hot.
us. It's like hot upstairs, ground floor is perfect, but the basement is like freezing.
Yeah.
So it's like, how do you handle that?
Yeah. And I mean, it's always going to be what happens, he rises,
right.
And whatever. But, if you just leave the fan on not auto, on or recirculate will kick the fan on every 20 minutes. On obviously is on, and it doesn't waste a ton of electricity. It's certainly less than running your outdoor air conditioner. And it'll blend the house out a lot too.
Okay.
All those variable speed furnaces and stuff that I talked about previously that have a longer run duration, they help majorly in evening the house out. And because you're not coming on at at full throttle with the air blowing, as the blower ramps up, air travels like water. It just finds a new path. And sometimes all of a sudden you start hitting bedrooms that you weren't getting airflow in before.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And what about on the heating side? What are some common heating mistakes that people make? Obviously in Chicagoland, at least here, it gets really cold in the winter. So you're running that heater a lot.
I mean, there's not a ton of mistakes really to make in terms of heating. I would say, setting the humidifiers is where people struggle probably the most is, finding the adequate spot to set the humidification. And, I guess our rule of thumb is find the spot that's right before the windows start sweating, make a mark on the humidistat with a pencil, and then turn it to that point, every year thereafter.
Okay. And then service-wise, they told me that you want to get it serviced, every 6 months, 12 months, right before the season starts? Like, when should we have, you guys come out, for example?
Yeah, so we do it like spring and fall,
Okay.
So we'll come out this year, and sometimes we're like really delayed in getting there. Like this year, spring was rainy, and it was like really hard to get out and get ahead of some of those things. So we're still doing a lot of the preventative maintenance even now. And then obviously fall, we start scheduling, I think in September, before people click their furnace on, just to make sure the humidifier is working and all that kind of stuff.
Does AI touch your business at all? Because it seems like, almost every business right now is getting massively disrupted by AI. It seems like with you guys, it would be less.
It does touch our business, but in terms of marketing and software, obviously they're integrating things, in terms of scheduling that might be able to cut down on having administrative staff. So it is, and scheduling too, it's getting kind of a little bit idiot proof, right? Like, it's, hey, you have a boiler call coming in. You have it lined up for this technician to go, but this guy's got a higher ticket. He's got a better success rate with lower callbacks, and just starts like pointing at, hey, you should probably send this guy if you can, So I think only in a positive manner. I don't think it's eliminating jobs per se.
Yeah.
I just don't see a robot coming in your house and putting your furnace in. Probably not going to happen.
I don't see. I was talking to a construction guy who's on the show, Tony, he and Essa, we were talking about that. And I said, how long do you think it'll be before we see humanoid robotics building things, like doing construction work? And he's like, probably 30 years, seems about right. Maybe 30 years or some humanoid robotic coming out to our house, but it's a ways. It's a why.
I mean, there's just so many unique things that happen inside a house.
Right.
Like,
yeah. But by then it's like, if that's 30 years, all these businesses are going to evolve a million times by the time we get there. It's not you snap your fingers and humanoid robotics are there.
right.
I mean, it's a process. It's an evolution. And we might be living totally different lives by the time that happens. You never know.
Yeah, I mean, I've been shocked by the technology. I mean, I remember like years ago when somebody's like, they can 3D print things. I'm like, yeah, right.
Yeah, I know. And you see the thing come out and you're like, damn, what the hell? Like, how did you guys do that from a printer?
Yeah.
We grew up like, I'm 40. It's like, I grew up like, it was like a black and white printer was cool, The internet was cool, and it's like, now they're just doing, I remember when ChatGPT came out, it was just like, it was like the Google search, but on a whole other level. You could talk to it and conversate and it would give you ideas. And it's like, it's going to be, I remember driving in a Waymo. You ever driven in one of those? The AI robotic cars?
No.
They're just, so they have them out in Arizona, Texas. Maybe there are other places now.
I've seen them in California, I think.
Maybe they're in California now, but they kind of piloted them in different areas. And you just get in them. And I remember me and my girlfriend were like, I was like, let's try it. She's like, this is kind of weird. I don't know about this. we did a few rides, and it was like by the end of it, she's like, I trust this thing more than I do a human, because humans are like on their phones or on the calls, they're distracted, there's road rage, and the AI thing was just like driving. And I looked up the stats on it. It actually was a lot safer in terms of accidents and things like that. So
there's all the emotion removed.
Right. That's what I mean.
With only the intelligence.
That's
right?
what I mean. And it's like pretty straightforward. It's like, the roads are set up. You got the GPS. It's not like coming in a house where like you don't know the inside of a house or what they have going on or the people in it. It's like every situation is a little bit different. This is like the roads, here they are. I'm going to point A to point B, and it gets you there. But you're sitting in the back seat and you're just kind of like, it's a little bit surreal because you're like I was just sitting there back there with my girlfriend. We're like, this thing's driving. There's no one in the front seat. It's just kind of wild.
Yeah.
It's like, it feels weird at first. You're like, all right, dude, hopefully this thing doesn't like go 90 miles an hour into a wall,
I remember the first time I was in a car when somebody put it basically on autopilot.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden the car starts shifting lanes. I'm like, no, you grab the wheel. I am
not. Yeah, it feels weird.
Yeah.
I don't know. But I think over time we start to trust it more, because I thought the same thing about cars. And I thought the same thing probably right now about planes. I'm like, I don't know if I would get in a 737 or 747 where it was just AI driving it or flying it. And there was no human at all in the cockpit. For me personally, at this point, I wouldn't feel as comfortable with that. Give me at least one human in there just in case.
Well, I mean, I don't know. Like, I guess I'm maybe a conspiracy theorist, but I'm like, what if somebody like drops a terrorist attack on this software on this plane?
Exactly. Yeah. For HVAC competitors, we're like, I know Brian's on this flight. I mean, I think you could, there's so many things that could happen in my mind, like rewiring or an error or a bug or a software thing that went wrong. It's like, I would want a human there. I think a car, I feel a little safer because like, if it does malfunction, maybe it just shuts down and like you're on the side of the road.
Yeah.
Or even if it just shut down the intersection, it's like, all right, I'm in a car. You're 30,000 feet in the air and that thing goes bad.
You don't got a chance.
I don't know what you're going to do. Yeah. I mean, so yeah, it's kind of wild. My last question here is, how do you balance, I know you're a father, I'm a father. How do you balance being a family person, having kids, with the business, with the relationship, with everything else that you have going on? How do you kind of structure all that? How do you think about that type of stuff?
It's hard. I mean, there's no two ways about it. Like, and really, like at times in my business, the business had to take precedence, and it's an inner conflict, right? Because you're like, well, if I don't dedicate my time to this, then my kids can't eat. And like, so you're just constantly like going through this turmoil, or I was at least like mentally of like, I can't win here, and that's when I started hiring people to try to buy some of my time back and whatever. But I don't think I answered the question. What was the question again?
Well, no, I think you are. I mean, it's just how do you run a business, be a dad, do all these different things. I'm always curious from other founders, just like, what are they going through? Because I think we're all going through it.
I think too, like, especially early on, I had to learn a lot of things personally. Like a lot of it comes back to just inner reflecting. And I was just somebody that never wanted to tell anybody no. So I'd say yes to everything. But unfortunately, I was struggling. I was failing because I just wasn't drawing boundaries for myself that was realistic. And so even though people are like, oh, you're doing great, I'm like, it doesn't feel that way. It feels like my head is underwater. I'm dying every single day. I'm barely getting through life, and I'm not, at this point, I'm not doing any of it well. Right. So, I think it all comes down to drawing boundaries for yourself. People will respect the no.
Yeah.
And that was the biggest thing that I had to learn. Like, I was surprised at how receptive people were to me being like, no, I'm sorry, I can't, but I could do it here. And they were just like, oh, okay. I'm like, man, if I had known it was this easy, I would have said no more,
Right. I think it is somewhat refreshing to hear that other people go through that, because sometimes on the outside, you do look at companies or founders or anybody really, and you're like, wow, they seem like they have it all figured out.
They don't.
Business is growing. They're doing this. They're with their kids doing that. And it's like, behind the scenes, I think a lot of us, it is a struggle. It's not easy. It's a challenge. And you're right about the trade-offs. There are times where I feel like I'm going to go spend time with the kids knowing that I could grow the business a little bit more during this time, but it's worth it for me to do it with the kids. It's just worth it. Or there's other times where I'm like, I'm going to spend time in the business right now and maybe forego some of the other things because I need to grow the business right now. It's like that time of day or season or whatever it is. And It's just,
but there's always a lingering guilt, right? Like
for sure.
It's like when I'm with the kids, oh
For
man,
sure.
I should have been doing this, and I'm letting something go. And then it's on the flip side, man, I'm not paying enough attention to my kids or whatever.
Yes.
And I think something that I have to get better about that you hear people say all the time is just be present in that moment.
That's
you know
right.
what I mean?
That's
And
right, man.
Easier said than done, but
Yeah. And I think just not being too hard on yourself too, and know that you're doing the best that you can in that moment. And I try to think about, do my kids feel loved, appreciated? Do they know I'm there for them? Do we have awesome memories that we share? Yes. And I think if you're doing that, man, you're probably doing pretty good.
yeah, I feel like too, like, one thing that happened for me is like, as you evolve as a business owner, a dad, all these things is that, at a certain point, I found myself being three different people. I'm one person at work, one person with my kids, one person when I'm in this function. And at a certain point, I just had an epiphany, and I'm like, I'm just going to be one person. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And just be true to myself. And the more I just got to being who I really am, and just like, hey, this is what it is. If you don't like it, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But that's it. And because of those things, I feel like my relationship with my kids grew, my relationship with the people at work grew, and people were just attracted to that sincerity, I think,
Isn't it funny? You probably say the same thing to your kids. I tell my kids all the time, they're 12 and 9. How old are your kids?
10, 12, and 15.
Okay. Do they go to St. Charles?
They do not.
Okay.
They go to school in Wheaton.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was going to see if they knew our kids, but I think you try to instill in them all these things like confidence, your wisdom, and like some of it goes through and some of it they just have to learn through their own experience, just like we did.
Right.
But I try to instill in them like that one of the greatest gifts you can give yourself is to be yourself.
Right.
It's just unapologetically, just like you said, be yourself. And that doesn't happen when you're 12 or 13 usually, But as you go through time, you realize kind of the secret to life was just being who I really am and being the best version of that. Instead of when you're young, you're always trying to like see what everyone else is doing.
Yeah,
What are
you're
they
doing something to impress somebody or whatever.
Right?
And I'm like, hey, and I think a lot of that comes back to that inner reflection, being true with yourself, having conversations with yourself, and getting to a point where you're like, everybody has demons, everybody's made mistakes or whatever, but it's just like, okay, those things happen. That doesn't define who I am. Who am I really? And just seeking the truth about yourself. And then all of a sudden it just starts clicking.
Yeah.
Unfortunately for me, it didn't happen until way later in life. I felt like, man, if I had adapted that earlier on, I would have been a lot further ahead. But, to your point, kids got to learn lessons, and some of, I take the hard way every time.
Same. I feel like I do too. Yeah. Well, Brian, this has been an awesome conversation, man. I really appreciate you joining me today. Where can people find you, connect with you, learn more about what you guys do?
So we're on Facebook, Instagram, all those things, at McNally HVAC, or on the web at www.mcnallyhvac.com.
Awesome. Thanks again for being here. Thank you guys for watching, listening. Again, hit like, subscribe, follow. Make sure you don't miss the next episode. We'll see you guys on the next one.